for today, what I wanted to do was look back at 2023 and then look a little bit ahead at 2024 and kind of talk about movies big picture style. Of 2023 was a weird year at the movies. Like really odd with the way movies performed, the way that they failed, the ones that took off, how much they took off. And I think there's some stuff to kind of learn and dissect out of that. And so just kind of starting with that, what in your mind was the bad stuff with last year? What made it such a weird year that like Hollywood's behavior that pushed us in this, like have such an odd set of films that perform badly?
I think it was mainstream audiences rejecting comic book movies is really what it is. I mean, unless you're something like Spider-Verse or, the Batman or Joker or whatever, like these comic book films that feel like they're made by an artist with a vision. Unless you're doing something interesting with the genre, then I don't think audiences are willing to go check it out because it's like, okay, I like Ant-Man 3. I'm probably one of the only people, but like most people, they're like, okay, third Ant-Man movie looks like the same thing as like the past, however many MCU entries. It's like cosmic, even though it's not really. But then there's like, it's like, it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy light and all that stuff. And so like, I get why people didn't go out to see it. Then there's, it was like the Marvels just had terrible trailers, which is another thing I want to get into is trailers. I think that's a big part of what happened.
We can cycle back.
We can cycle back that. But going back to the comic book thing, I just think the studios have just kind of gotten lazy in terms of like the kind of stories that they're telling in that genre, and the mainstream audiences. Avengers Endgame happened, and then people slowly started to trickle out. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday who teaches film at a university, and he was saying that his students are so burnt out of the MCU. They don't care. They're over it. And he said the thing that they're talking about right now is like stuff like Saltburn, which like I'm not a huge fan of that, but that kind of speaks to where
it was a good dance number. I showed it to my kids.
You did.
I'm a good parent.
Murder on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Great ending.
Yeah, great. Yeah, but so I think that's the kind of thing that audiences are looking for. They're looking for something interesting that they have not seen before from an artist with a vision, which is why I think you saw stuff like Barbie and Oppenheimer just pop. Because one, it's Christopher Nolan, and Nolan already has like a built-in following and people love him and everything, but those trailers were incredible. The movie also got, an amazing reception. And then with Barbie, like, I think you hear, they're going to make a Barbie movie, and then immediately you get very jaded on the idea. It's like, okay, it's going to be like a Mattel thing. It's going to be like brand rehabilitation and whatever. But you realize this, from Greta Gerwig, co-written by her and Noah Baumbach, and you're like, we have actual filmmakers who could probably do a pretty interesting social satire here. And that's what they did. And on top of that, you have these incredible sets that are practical, the costumes, the vibrance, the music. It was a phenomenon. And on top of that, you have both that and Oppenheimer releasing on the same date. And that just creates another internet phenomenon. And so it's like people are yearning for original filmmaking. And, I just think that that's what really came through this year, was that people are done with franchises. They want to see something new, and they want the artist's voice to take the lead.
Well, I think one of the words people use to describe a movie, mid, but normally when people say mid, they're saying it like it's so much more negative than what mid actually means.
Yeah.
Because mid, it's like, it's mid. It's right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good term to describe so many of these movies. They're slickly produced. They hit all the beats they're supposed to have. They're coherent enough. They have jokes. They have action. But they don't have that vision. They don't have anything distinct.
It's a conveyor belt thing, which is and that's not just an MCU thing. That is like
that's everything.
That is everything.
I mean, a lot of the DC films this year, I still enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But a big part of what was wrong with this year, in my opinion, was there's no rewatchability to a lot of these movies. You forget about them very much. I forgot Ant-Man came out last year, honestly.
No, it's true.
When I was going through what films that I watched last year, and I saw Ant-Man was last year, I was honestly shocked. I thought Guardians was the first film of last year, but
right.
I mean, just sticking on the point of bad, I thought marketing was awful. I know trailers.
Let's pick that up then.
Yeah, the trailers last year. What I've found lately, and I've started to not do trailer reactions anymore, is because they're not fun to react to anymore because they're just so fine. like an okay, and they don't get you excited, or they spoil the entire film.
They use the same songs.
Same songs, same beat, same story.
Yeah.
Like, this is what this character's doing, this is what this character's doing. And, you know, you say mid, that's a big thing. I talk to a lot of people. Everyone wants something new and original.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, Barbie, those are the two things. Those are the phenomenons.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, across Spider-Verse. Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem was awesome. It's one of the most underrated films of last year. Should have made a lot more money. Godzilla -1. I was not planning on seeing that in theaters, and everyone kept talking about it, saying how original and awesome it was. Went and saw it opening night.
Yeah, to your point, that's the other thing is word of mouth.
Yeah.
I think audiences, since this is really like a post-pandemic thing, I think audiences are being more... They're listening more to like what people are saying. You know, is this movie good? What is the Rotten Tomatoes score with this? I would actually argue that's part of why Indy 5 completely bombed, was because of such a lukewarm reception.
Should have never released at the film festival.
Yeah, that was a baffling decision to me, because I think it turned a lot of people off from the movie. But it's weird because most normal people that I talk to who aren't so involved in this space, who have seen that film, really like it. They're like, oh wow, I thought this was going to be terrible, but it was actually like...
That was my grandmother.
Halfway
she
decent.
Loved it.
Yeah.
All right, let's ask the room. Indiana Jones, the new one. If you've seen it and you liked it, raise your hand. Saw it, look at mid. Saw it, didn't like it, raise your hand.
Who didn't see it?
I saw Griffin.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We know we're in the minority.
All right, thank you. So just a little bit of a perspective. So
Well, I think it's interesting that the fact that the word, not necessarily the word of critics, but I just think word of mouth in general carries a lot of weight, because I think that's one of the reasons why something like Saltburn is also, on top of the fact that it's available on Amazon Prime, that movie is becoming a bit of a phenomenon. You know, it's like the top trending film right now on like all forms of social media, and it's like, I get it. Because it's taboo in a sense. There's some like risque stuff going on in there.
But to a lot of people who usually don't watch that, imagine if Poor Things was on Amazon.
Right,
Prime.
because
then people would be like blown away.
Because
by
we
it.
have such a weird like Puritan mindset when it
Yes.
comes to movie watching right now, which is a completely different conversation. But I think that's,
we're heading down a fun path now.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's a sex scene. Like, get over it, man. Like, it's just like it's.
I saw Saltburn,
Yes.
and it broke me. It
Yeah.
disturbed me.
Yeah,
I could
to
never
no
see
end.
bathwater ever again.
You can buy a candle. You can buy the candle.
I saw you can buy the candle. I bought all 3
so
sets
tame.
for Jennifer.
Perfect.
All right, going down a rabbit trail there.
Yes. Yeah.
So last year also had good. We touched on this a little bit, but the big idea. Hollywood just went overboard on sequels, because even beyond that, from March 1st until mid-August,
awesome.
there was a sequel or adaptation every single week, sometimes 2 of them in a week, and were board games, and then every single week for 6 months, and then people are just like, what are we doing? And burn people out. But there was still good stuff in there, so. We touched on some of this a little bit already, but what's some of the other good stuff from this last year? The trends, not specifically movies, but the good trends of last year.
I mean, the good trends is like some of the big surprises, like Dungeons and Dragons coming out of nowhere and being like an absolute blast. Like I rolled my eyes at the whole concept, even though game night directors are doing it. It's one of my favorite comfort movies. But the thing that I really liked was a lot of directors and a lot of just new voices kind of coming into the scene, and either, if you're looking at Christopher Nolan, kind of stepping it back, not doing a Tenet, not doing an Inception, telling a real life story, but in his unique style, and making it accessible to everyone.
Well, and I think I said this in my many times, but it's probably Nolan's funniest film, which you don't think Oppenheimer comedy, but because the way it's designed, there's all these little Matt Damon lines and not near zero. Zero is what don't blow up the world. There's these little bits, so it actually has more humor than maybe any of his other films.
People forget he's funny. Do you remember Batman Begins?
Batman Begins has a lot of good lines.
There's a lot of great zingers in those films.
I look like a cop.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like a cop.
No, it's and then there's so many lines in The Dark Knight too. But to your point, Oppenheimer, you think is going to be this 3-hour bleak, heavy drama, and it is. Don't worry, but yeah, there's like some nice little comedic moments in there, and also the way he structures it, kind of like a heist film too.
Yeah.
When they're like assembling the team and building the bomb, it's like there's just so much.
It's
to
accessible.
Offer. It is.
That's
accessible.
the big
Yeah.
thing. Like
It's
I
about
have not,
science and
Yeah.
Senate hearings,
Yeah.
and you're comparing it to a heist movie,
Yeah.
funniest movie. It's like, that's the masterwork of Nolan.
there's some
Yeah.
people I've talked to where I'm like, oh, they're not gonna like that movie, and they're like, that's my favorite film of the year, and I'm like, really? That's your favorite film of the year? Okay,
Yeah.
I mean that's awesome. But I think just big things like that, like I want to see directors doing this. Greta Gerwig went out of her box. I mean, Barbie is something completely different, but it's told in her own kind of style and vision. And I know those are the kind of two obvious ones to talk about. But
Let's talk about Rocka Rocka with Talk to Me.
That was
like,
the other thing.
Like that was a
say.
massive sensation. Just these two guys who were YouTubers who made a movie and it blew up on
because I saw it at Sundance before anyone was talking about it. I
Yeah.
just saw Rocka Rocka is making a horror film, and I'm like, oh,
What
it's
do
gonna
they
be,
do on YouTube?
you should not show your children
You
these
definitely should
videos,
not,
but
yeah.
they're
Well, that's a challenge.
they're a lot of them are just like them taking like Mortal Kombat and showing their fatalities in what they would be in real life. But like the biggest thing they got famous off of was Ronald McDonald murdering people.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what they would have is a guy dressed as
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald murder people, and they're bloody, gory, and it's insane.
It's like the story. It's like
and they got them,
but,
these are the people that made Talk to Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
These are-
I went
yeah.
to Talk to Me thinking, oh, this is gonna be like Texas Chainsaw Massacre to the most extreme degree, or Terrifier, and I'm like, oh no, this is very serious. And then I saw the producers were the Babadook.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very much in the same style and tone as the Babadook, and they had massive success with that. And now they're doing Street Fighter. They're doing a sequel to Talk to Me.
Yeah.
James Gunn wanted them for a DC film.
They
Like,
said no.
yeah, which like I don't blame them. Like they want to keep doing their own thing. So
Yeah.
I love these new visions and these new ideas and everything. So
To that point, you recommended we talk about what are the movies recently that people aren't talking about enough. I'll kick one out
yeah.
on TV shows.
Yeah.
One for me, it got canceled. Heels. It's a show about wrestling. I've never followed professional wrestling. That's never been my jam. But it stars Stephen Amell from Arrow. I watched Arrow. So my wife and I checked it out. Thought both seasons were excellent. And no one was talking about it. And then it got canceled after the second season. And we were heartbroken. And in particular, right now, as everyone's praising the Iron Claw, there's a lot of thematic similarities between Iron Claw and Heels. So if you liked Iron Claw and want a fictionalized version with a lot of that same sort of stuff, consider checking out Heels. And maybe if enough of you in this room do, then we'll be able to bring back Heels on another network. But that's when it comes out. Yes, kind sir.
I feel like what seems to be the common theme with 2023 is that all the movies we were looking forward to turn out to be like disappointments.
Yeah.
But all the movies we weren't looking forward to turn out to be like some of our favorites
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at my top 10, I was like, I was not looking forward to any of this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
such
true.
a weird year of
Yeah.
like, and if you were to like try and predict which ones would be the best of the highest grossing, which ones would flop, like it was
never
bizarre.
thought Barbie would hit $1 billion. I never thought Barbie would hit $1 billion. I never thought it would be the highest grossing film of the year. I thought the highest grossing film was going to be Guardians, honestly. That or Indiana Jones, because it's an Indiana Jones movie.
I
Like,
mean, I spent months talking about the Barbie trailers, being
Yeah.
like, I have no clue who the audience is for this. Who's this for? Who's going to show up for this?
Everyone.
Because I'm really good at my job.
Yeah.
and everyone was wrong. Everyone was wrong who projected that's like, I was wrong too, so.
I think it hit a political button.
It would touch it hit something that whether you agreed with it, disagreed with it, you wanted to be a part of the conversation. Like even my wife, she wasn't like, I can't wait to go see Barbie, but opening weekend she was like, I want to be like, it was like she wanted to like be a
Yeah.
part of the thing and be
Yeah.
a part of the conversation. She wanted to be able to talk about the movie with me. And so just those movies that are able to do that makes everyone want to be a part of the conversation. There's something to that with certain films. But we're getting off topic a little bit. What are some things that you wish more people were talking about?
Blackberry.
Blackberry, yes.
I was talking about
Yes.
Blackberry, and that movie was so good. That was hilarious. Glenn Howerton. Oh my god!
It's the year of the product movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of them
Yeah.
really good.
yeah. Blackberry is one of those ones where it's like if you like The Social Network, this is like everything The Social Network is, but it's like everything went wrong. It was just like it's a complete disaster story. So it's like I don't know, the inverse of your typical tech biopic. And I just think the entire story behind Blackberry is hilarious because they were ahead of the curve And then they were just so confident that like keys are gonna like people want to click buttons on their phones, and everyone's like, "No, dude, we want a touch screen." And then they just kind of like, yeah. But that one is great. That was great.
Yeah, I watching that movie helped me realize how behind the curve I was, because I bought my first Blackberry right after they imploded. Right as everyone else is like, I'm going to get an iPhone. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to get a Blackberry.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That happened.
Yeah, that went really well.
But it's a good movie.
Yeah, Blackberry's great.
I still haven't seen that movie, so that's I'm one
Wait,
of those
you have
people-
not?
No, I have not.
And you voted in a critics group? You haven't seen Blackberry?
Yeah, sorry, man. I just didn't have time.
Oh my god. Have you seen Ferrari?
No.
How many people have seen Ferrari? Did you like Ferrari?
No.
Oh.
You liked it? Yeah. There we go. Okay, we got one guy. It's a great movie.
I
yes.
thought it.
Crowd went dead silent. You know what
Yes. My jaw hit the floor. There's a scene in Ferrari that is so just like I don't even. It's one of those things where it's like it's coming. It happens, and you're still stunned. It is just. I've not felt anything like that before. It's an incredible scene.
To me, it felt like episode 8 of a Ferrari miniseries.
That's what I like.
See, I want to watch
It's like a
it. I'm
slice of
excited.
life kind of thing. You're like you get right in there with these pre-existing relationships and these I don't know, and through their conversations you unpack the trauma of the characters, and I love that movie.
The creator,
Creator,
Gareth.
okay.
Yes.
Not a big fan of Rogue One. I think it's okay. I think it's good. I don't go back to it a lot. And then what was the last? Godzilla. It's one of the films I also don't go back. So I wasn't looking forward to the creator, but everyone I talked to, especially one person I think we all know who saw it really early at a test screening, was like, dude, this is the movie. This is his best movie yet. And I went and watched it, and I was absolutely blown away. The fact that the visual effects were all like probably some of the best of the year.
I did a double feature of The Creator and Expendables 4.
Oh.
So
One that's more expensive.
Yeah, right. Expendables 4 cost more money, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's
what happened?
Yeah, it costs more money in star power alone.
Exactly.
You had to pay those guys to like get off their asses to do something.
Yeah,
It's-
but the creator was just so special, and it was kind of everything I want. Like The Last of Us is my favorite video game of all time. It was also my favorite television show of last year. Kind of had that same feel, an older protagonist, a younger protagonist, having to get them to one place. And I just love the sci-fi world. I could have lived in there for so long, and I wish the creator did a lot better. I cannot believe it bombed. But a lot of that is probably because the actors and writers strike. No one could actually market the movie. So
So,
go ahead.
I was going to transition that. Did you have a thought on that?
Yeah, because I actually think a big reason why the creator failed at the box office was because of the trailers. I thought the trailers were fine, but they were like, I don't know, every time I went to the movie, it was the same thing. It was
do
the
agree
same
with
thing
that,
over
yeah.
and over again, and it was just like, yeah, this isn't really doing anything for me after like the second watch of this trailer, because the first trailer was not like great to begin with, and it's one of those trailers that just kind of follows the paint by numbers thing, where it's like you start off with this really like serious, mysterious thing going on, and then you transition into a pop song, and it's like, what does Dream On have to do with the creator?
Wait,
it was one of the
what? There was a Dream On played in the trailer for Creator?
Yes.
yeah. Wait,
Yes.
are you wait,
The
wait,
Aerosmith song?
The Aerosmith song, yes.
I don't know if I missed that one or if my brain just blocked
Yeah.
that out, but
That was like a
that's,
big thing.
That's hilarious.
That was like the main one,
Yeah,
too.
it feels like a joke. Like it's like a bit on SNL when someone's like, "Hey, make a movie trailer," and like you have some guy in GarageBand just doing weird stuff and just sort of like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna cut in Dream On right here." It's gonna be like Dream, and then it's just like kind of like what are you doing? Like this is so
I
generic.
don't think they knew what they were like trying to market with that movie.
They had
Like,
no idea
that
how to
was the
market
wrong.
it.
Like who had
Yeah.
it? Searchlight, Searchlight and Disney technically.
It was 20th century.
Yeah,
It was-
I mean they didn't know what they were doing with the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think Disney in particular doesn't know how to market movies anymore, because they, for so long, were able to market it based off their brands.
And conversation, like we've been talking, like a conversational piece. Like the MCU was a conversational piece
Yeah.
for everyone forever, and now it's not really. Like
See, if you can just market your movies on, people want to be a part of it. That water cooler conversation. Pixar, every Pixar movie is great. It's an event. Every Marvel movie is great. It's an event. Every Star Wars movie is great. It's an event. You have to talk about it. They haven't had the best run the last 4 years, and so when you market it just on your name, that it's the new Pixar, it's the new Marvel movie, it doesn't work anymore. And I don't think Disney knows how to market when you're trying to actually build excitement for something. All right, so I wanted to one question you brought up was the idea. Touch on this a little bit, and then we get just a couple more questions on here. But
Sure.
The idea of in the world of reviewing things, we're always in kind of this strange position of we want to tell you guys about new, fresh things that are different that you might like. We don't want to just tell you about what you already know about. But you don't click on things if you don't know what they are, because you don't know what they are. And you don't search for things that you don't know where they are. And so there's this cycle that creates a scenario where we only create things you already know about, things you already know about. And so it makes it difficult for things like the creator to break through. It makes it difficult for those movies to get advertised. And I think that's a tension that almost every single critic wrestles with.
Specifically YouTube critics, I would say, like arguably more so than print, because with print you're getting, because you're either staffed at a publication or you're a freelancer, so you're getting paid to review the film either way. For YouTubers, your revenue is all about like, you know, how well is this video performing?
Mm-hmm.
That determines how much money I'm going to get this month. And for people, you know, living paycheck to paycheck and like relying on that for rent, like that basically determines how you should cover stuff. And
last few weeks, I go see The Iron Claw. Loved it. Top 5 movies of the year for me. I did not post a review for it. Why did I not post a review for a movie that I loved that I want to get you guys to go see? Because I know how that review will perform versus the end of the year lists I was doing. One will do 10,000, the others will do 50,000 views. So based on, and people are like, are you going to do a full review? Like, I just don't have time to cover it. So I have to make an economic choice as to how, because based on views, all things like that. Yeah. And so then I'm just trying to make a reasonable decision. I talked about it in one of the videos I did. But things like that, and so we don't cover some things simply because of that, and it creates this cycle to where it's tricky.
Yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of movies that I saw last year that I would have loved to have done videos on, but especially for me doing like video essays and that are like 20 to 30 minute video that I've got to like sink a time into a script, edit, all that kind of stuff. I would have loved to have done a video on Iron Claw, but I don't. Like just the interest online, I guess, is not there. At least people are not seeking that stuff out.
And they don't know to seek it out if we don't create the video about it. It's so like, how do we fix this?
Like there's part of it that's like you have an obligation as someone who is reviewing movies and is a critic to be a critic. Like you should be talking about stuff. You should be like uplifting like movies that no one has seen, that no one has talked about, because that's how you sort of generate buzz. At the same time, it's like you have to kind of make up for that by padding it in between stuff that are going to be heavy hitters. And so I don't know. I just think it's a weird sort of dilemma there, at least for people on YouTube, I think.
And it's not in just time, it's algorithm.
There's an algorithm aspect
you are
to it,
like probably the most algorithm friendly person, because sometimes you'll post stuff thinking it'll do great, but that's a big thing. It's always a risk any video we post. I've posted stuff where I'm like, this is like it. This video, this movie, this show, this is gonna be the biggest thing. And it's like 2,000.
When you see the channels that go crazy doing 50 videos on something, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because it works.
Yeah.
Like, it's so frustrating for us too.
Well, I mean, you literally cover everything.
Yeah.
You are the guy who's like, I'm going to review this. I don't care if it gets like 2 views. If I'm going to Sundance, I'm going to watch.
And that's the thing that I've struggled with, is because not last year, but the year prior, I was a little bit more like, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I won't. But then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, like if I don't review this, when it hits streaming, it blows up.
Yeah.
Like Saltburn, like did not do well when it was in theaters. Now that it's on streaming, like it's one of my most profitable videos like of last year. So Percy Jackson, I didn't think anyone was gonna watch that review. I said yes.
There's a subculture.
There's a huge
They are
fan base
passionate and they message me all the time.
Same. I got a threat the other day on that show because I liked it.
That's how you know you've made it. If no one's threatening to kill you over make-believe characters, are you really a critic?
Like, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, it's like a message request. Have you ever gotten any of those, like on Facebook, and you go and check, and it's like from months prior?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, this person wants to kill me. And then you go to respond, and then they blocked you. Like that happened to me like a year or two ago, and I was like,
well, what did you do to offend someone so much that not only do they want to kill you, but they blocked you?
Yes.
All right, we got a couple more questions. Because to close this out, we got meet people, all that fun stuff. Trying to respect you guys' time. We are running already like 30 minutes behind the schedule I thought we were going to have, but hey, I'm figuring it out as I go along. 2024, what are we excited for in general? Like when we look at what's happening, what are we excited for? I'll kick things off. I kind of love the fact that we're not getting any normal MCU films. We got Deadpool 3, but we don't have any normal MCU films. As someone that built my channel covering the MCU, show of hands in the room, how many of you discovered my channel probably via MCU rankings? Half the people in the room with MCU rankings, like that gave me this career. That's why you're here. Like, means the world to me. I want them to slow down, take a breath, regroup, learn from the last couple of years, make some adjustments, and maybe we can get a little bit back to the glory days back a few years back. And so I'm down for it. Like, take a break. Also, even for me, like I've been cranking out MCU rankings every year, this updates and stuff. All right, I can't do that this year. That's great. I love that. I have to stretch. I have to do some fresh new things myself. So that's a simple one of like, it's a thing that's not happening that I'm actually excited for this year.
This is probably a lame answer because I think I say this every year, but it's the stuff that I don't know about that's going to premiere at festivals that kind of like starts getting buzz and generates hype. Like I always like keeping an eye out for those things because they're, they tend to be the more interesting pieces of art that are coming out in the industry. So whatever films are going to premiere at Venice, South by, TIFF, all those places, that's what excites me. The stuff we don't know about.
So just kind of building on that a little bit, like on my channel, I know I do the rankings and it's the big mainstream stuff. And I try to watch more than that and cover more than that. And that's why I do kind of my end of the month rankings. That's why when I go to a film festival, I'll rank all those movies. And my hope is that through that process, maybe I can point you to your next step. And your next step probably isn't diving into the deep end of some of the crazy, weird, abstract stuff that I've seen at Fantastic Fest. But what is that next step? And like for a lot of people, a next step would be like a Godzilla -1. Most people that watch my channel probably don't watch a lot of subtitled movies. That's one that's like a pretty easy, like it still has Godzilla shooting nuclear blast out of his mouth, incinerating people. It's quite tragic when it happens, but it's a lot of fun still to watch Godzilla do that. You just have to read at the bottom of the screen. But that's why I try and do some of those types of videos in certain ways to try and put them on your radar. And I'm starting to do these every month, these buy or sell movies coming out. And I'm intentionally trying to see what are the ones that you might not know about. And in the thumbnail or the little graphic, it'll be the one that you have heard of. But then I'll put another one in there that hopefully is pointing you towards maybe a next step. What is your most anticipated movie of 2024?
It's Deadpool 3, but that's because the first Deadpool is one of my favorite comic book films. It's also the most nervous film I am for next year because of everything.
Yeah.
The MCU, the state of the MCU, Deadpool in general, because the second film has been one of those that every time I go back to, I like it less. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping the third one wins back that charm because the first film's so good because of that romance. And it doesn't seem like Vanessa's in it, but is she going to be a big part of it? How are they going to intersect all the old characters as well as give enough time to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine?
Yeah, but we got the bromance instead of the romance.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. But which side of it? Like, does Hugh Jackman's Wolverine actually want to have that bromance with Deadpool? I mean, it's probably going to be a great time, but it needs to be amazing for me at least. So that's my most anticipated overall.
Okay. Before we get to your most anticipated, why do you hate Deadpool 3?
I just think it's lame. It's just a very like cynical, easy, just sort of like that. Like the Fox X-Men universe like was done. It's over, right? Like Logan happened, perfect ending to that whole thing. And like I get that Deadpool is going to sort of be like this weird little like, oh, we're going to go back through the ages and talk about like all the X-Men movies and celebrate that and blah 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 blah. But it's just like there is no reason that you should resurrect Hugh Jackman for what is essentially just like a bit movie. Like there's no like in my mind, there's not like there's no like emotional like resonance to that.
Yeah.
You're just I don't know. It just feels like okay, we have to do something with Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is available. Hugh Jackman, maybe we can get him in a costume. Oh, he's going to be in a comic accurate costume this time. Oh yeah, that'll get people really excited. And it just feels like a bunch of like boxes that the studio is sort of checking in order to get people, I guess, who love the comic versions of these characters like happy and like that's fine. But I would rather see that with like a new cast of characters. Like let's cast a new Wolverine, let's cast a new Storm and Beast and all that. Instead, like we're getting Kelsey Grammer's Beast in a post-credit scene for like the Marvels. Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't a big one. Okay.
I really hope you go see Deadpool 3. And then we all look back at every video.
I just don't. Here's the other thing.
I know.
Here's the other thing. It's like the movie was kind of like birthed out of the destruction of 20th Century Fox as a studio, and like they're making jokes about it, and they're like whatever. And it's like you know a lot of people like lost their jobs.
Well, and that's the one thing.
Like,
that's
like
the
lost their
worrisome part
livelihood.
is how are they handling the movie? I don't know. It's all because it's so many leaks out.
But
there.
Ryan Reynolds still has a job.
Right, he has many jobs. Here's my other thing about. I think Ryan Reynolds, his shtick has just kind of like just run its course with me. Like I know exactly what he's going to do in every single thing.
Already too flaming hot.
I don't know. Is that
Griffin
a hot take? Are people like kind of still on board with like Ryan Reynolds and his thing as like a?
All right.
Is it still? I don't know.
Show of hands. Ryan Reynolds, his shtick is overplayed.
I love Deadpool. So.
All right. Second, Ryan Reynolds, still charming. Hands up.
Yeah, I mean,
But- Free guy for the win. So there are people on your side, and I think my lady friend in the back was with you. So
she gets it.
all right. So that's enough of what you're not excited for.
Right.
What?
I probably did a horrible job explaining myself, but it's, you know.
You have a video for that.
I do. You can go watch it. It's great.
Were the comments reasonable? What are you excited for? What's your most anticipated?
So, okay, so my most anticipated is Nosferatu. But like I'm a big Robert Eggers fan. I think that the cast in that film is incredible. I mean, this is like the movie that he's been wanting to make for years. You got Willem Dafoe, you have Bill Skarsgård as Dracula or Orlok or whatever the Count's name is in that. I mean, we saw what he kind of did in a more accessible realm with something like The Northman. And so you take, you know, his gothic horror, his attention to period pieces, that background, you apply it to a, you know, timeless tale like Nosferatu, puts a new spin on it. And I just think that is so interesting to me. And yeah, I mean, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, I think this could be the thing that kind of gets her away from like all the stuff with The Idol where people were just like, yeah, is she really that great of an actress? And I think after people see Nosferatu, they'll probably be more on board with her as an actress. So if I'm not counting that, I'm gonna say Furiosa, just because it's George Miller, it's Mad Max. It's something that George Miller has wanted to do for years. That trailer like rocked my world. Like that was.
Film Twitter responded like, "What
Yeah.
does this look like?" This like, have you guys not seen it? What are you guys talking
It's like,
about?
Are you
Like,
kidding me? Yeah,
it's
like,
still him.
Yeah.
I was very confused by the Twitter reaction to the trailer.
Yeah, because I mean, people are trying to like point out like, oh, this is CGI and this is VFX and this is green screen. It's like, just because there's CGI and VFX in a movie doesn't make it bad. Like there are good ways to use it, and I feel like it's being used in Furiosa in a very heightened and stylized way. So, and on top of that, I mean, like Anya Taylor-Joy is just like one of the greatest actors working today. So and Chris Hemsworth. Like that is an insane performance already in the trailer. So I am like full send all in on that. Like that's awesome.
And I don't think well, first off, I realized works better when you turn it on. So all this, when I was doing this, it wasn't doing anything because it wasn't turned on.
Right.
Hemsworth is one of those guys that we always forget how good he really is.
Yeah.
Like how versatile he actually is because he's so famous as movie star Thor. But he's willing to do small parts. He's willing to do comedic parts. He's willing to embarrass himself. He's willing, like, he could do all kinds of different things.
It's the best part of the Vacation remake. So,
Oh, it's Vacation.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even remember.
You don't remember that with Ed Helms? He was the best part.
I have erased that movie from my memory.
That was
is
not that bad. That I would argue.
It's
that.
pretty bad.
Jennifer and I watched it, and we seemed to have a good time with it. And then everyone else said it was terrible.
I saw it 3 times in theaters. Don't know why, but
Yeah.
Wow, that's.
I just that was so stupid.
I think you're the only person that saw that 3
I
times.
probably was. The second time I went, it was just me in the theater.
Yeah.
And one friend. That was
Yeah,
it.
that tracks.
What are you excited for this year?
I mean everything, and like he said, like I felt-
Everything?
A
Wow.
lot. I love going into the year with just like movies, and I know that's a very generic answer and stuff like that, but I just love watching movies. I love going to the theater. I love going on dates to the theater and just having a blast. Like that's my way of like interacting with friends, family, coworkers, and I'm known at my work as the movie guy. Like that. Like, hey, did you watch this yet? Did you not? And when I haven't watched something yet, they look at me like I'm the weirdest person in the entire world because they're like, how did I see something before you?
I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Whenever there's the movie I miss, like,
So,
what?
yeah.
What? You haven't seen? How many movies did you haven't seen this one?
Exactly.
Sorry.
And you look at like I'm not going to Sundance this year, but like if you look at the entire schedule, there's so many unique movies. Like there's one I think of Jesse Eisenberg is dressing up as Sasquatch. And that's just weird. That's just weird. Like, but I want to see it because it's Jesse Eisenberg playing Sasquatch. And why? I don't know. But then you have Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell's movie, Hitman, which I was hoping was going to come out last year. It didn't. We still don't have a release date. It's probably going to hit all the film festivals again, and then finally come on Netflix, and no one will watch it. But that's just how Netflix works. So I'm
going to do my part to get as many people to watch it
Same.
so that I can help my good buddy.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'd be kind of curious to just like hear from some of you guys, like when do you, some of these ones that are a bit more risky if you're going to go to the movies, if Sean like says something like, hey, go see the Iron Claw, are you going to go see the Iron Claw or are you going to wait until it's on VOD? Because I've kind of noticed that a lot of people tend to, with those mid-budget films,
Yeah.
like a Ferrari, like an Iron Claw or whatever, even the new Hunger Games, that is like
big
number
one, yeah.
3 on the iTunes charts right now. And that's a great film and it's a blockbuster, but people were like, I'm going to wait for VOD. So like, I don't know, like how you guys like kind of consume stuff like that.
It really depends on like the holidays. I mean, if there's a bunch of movies coming out and you don't have time, movies that you're looking forward to, like all the major blockbuster stuff.
Yeah.
And those small movies are just kind of in the way that you guys are recommending. It's kind of hard to get to those movies because the economy how it is right
Yeah.
now. It's
Right,
hard to,
right.
Spend $30 per movie, between the two of us.
Yeah.
So those movies, unless it's like low, like during the fall, like there's not a whole lot of movies coming out, we'll usually just wait till it comes out streaming for some of those movies.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I found like post-pandemic.
Well,
most
and you know
people-
what I say in a lot of my reviews, like the outfit. I don't know. Did you guys ever see the outfit? It was such an underrated movie.
Oh yeah,
And when I posted that review, I said this is gonna get no views right now. And I said it in my review. I said,
Yeah.
but if you're watching this on streaming and you just watched it on like a Netflix or you rented it, please comment. 90% of the comments are, I just rented this. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Why did no one see this in theaters? Well, you didn't, but
Same thing as
but,
Guy
yeah.
Ritchie's The Covenant. That
Yeah.
was a movie that just blew up on.
Even though I didn't like
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
That was
How dare you,
I
sir?
know,
How
I know.
dare you, sir?
I'm one of the few. That wasn't a fan. of
I
that.
feel like there's so like the people they just want to go for like they want that big event and all
Yeah.
the mid stuff kind of gets lost. And I get it. And in particular this year it was just so many things coming out. You just have to pick one.
Yeah.
And the loudest ones are the ones that people
March.
pick.
I mean, March, Creed, Dungeons. What else came
Scream.
out? Scream, and then I feel like there was one more big one in there. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mario?
Oh,
Mario was right after.
yeah.
was right after.
But,
But it was
again,
right at the
you got
beginning.
all
But
that
it was
stuff.
back,
Yeah.
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 Wakanda Forever.
Oh,
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
And it's just like so much stuff.
Yeah.
too much.
Did you have any final thoughts you wanted to share about movies in general, or where can we find you on the internet?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I'm like optimistic for 2024 for films. Like I think it's going to be really cool to just like see a bunch of creative, original stuff, and I'll try and cover as much as I can over on the FilmSpeak channel, which you can
Yes, okay, sir.
check out there.
I'm just excited we're in 2024 in general because it seems like every time a year ends with like the number 4, it's always like one of the best years for movies. 84, 94, 2004, 2014.
It's true.
It's interesting. We'll see if the universe is kind to the Force.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But you can find me at Zach Pope Reviews. I literally try to review everything. Like, no joke. If there's something small, big, I will try and review it. I'm trying to do a little bit more of TV and video games too. So if you like both of those, I'm going to try and do more. Video games just take a little bit longer to play through. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I'm Sean Chandler, and you can find me on Sean Chandler Talks About on the internet. So if you look up Sean Chandler, you'll either find a football player or a guy that looks like me that talks about movies.
Oh, you have a football player too? If you type in Zach Pope, it's either a football player or me. So.
Yeah, he was a college football player, so that
okay.
used to be part of my joke too. But then he made it to the NFL. So
look at
yeah,
that.
he's still going.
Griffin,
That's
what about
exciting.
you? What did they find?
Yeah,
if they type in
football
your
player
name?
for you?
Yeah, football player named FilmSpeak. Yeah, that sounds like a.
His parents really wanted
It's
to
like
be
this
the
guy's.
movie.
Oh, sheesh.
I'm curious, do you think Barbie did well because Barbie never had a movie before, or because it was controversial? Any politics, Ben Shapiro, and the news sort of come together, burned a doll on YouTube? Do you think that had something to do with
I think it's
Barbie
both.
as well?
I think it's honestly, it's all of the above. I had friends who were doing Barbenheimer who would never watch both films ever. Like, I genuinely, like, one of my friends dressed up with his girlfriend for Barbie, and then they both went and saw Oppenheimer right afterwards. And if you asked me 5 years ago when we were in high school if he would have done that, or no, actually more than 5 years ago. I'm older than that. Sorry, but I would have been like, he would have. Yeah, I would be like, he'd never do that. But he went and saw it, and I think Barbie was just that conversational piece because of those. Because everyone was talking about it. Every single person, I feel like, went and saw Barbie.
But then your friends like Ben Shapiro burned a Barbie doll.
But see, even for that, like
And
that was a
everyone wanted to
conversational
know
piece.
like what their reaction is to it. So, like if you wherever side you fall on this, you want to be in the conversation. Like, is he acting crazy by doing that? Is how exaggerated is that? Or do I agree? And so you just want to be a part of it. And him doing that is marketing for the movie. And the funny part for me was like I put out my 1 minute out of the theater reaction, and it's very right in the middle, mixed on it, praising things, criticizing things. But it's only 1 minute. There's only so much that can be in there. I was called both a Ben Shapiro clone and a woke idiot. I was like, what is wrong with the internet? Like, what are you
That's
doing?
the internet.
It's called a nuanced take. It's not clean on one side or the other side. I've got mixed feelings on it. I'm in the middle, but they only see in team sports, some people.
And speaking of controversial movies from last year, Sound of Freedom, you seem to be one of the few reviewers who had that nuanced take. Who wasn't either
Right.
criticizing it or, you know.
Let's try and talk about it as a movie, not as part of a cultural, like, just talk about, that's what I want to do. But yeah, it's,
You can't
yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't nowadays. So.
yeah, that's the frustrating thing with so much of it, where so much gets pulled into that. And I try my best to like, I want to talk about movies, and I want to be a place where whichever side you're on, we can be friends. Movies bring us together. Like, even I was doing my live stream. We'll close out on this note. Doing my live stream on Monday. At one point in time, we just paused. We're like, hey, who in the chat, where are people at? Because every year on January 1st, I do a live stream where I rank all the movies I saw that year. And people start messaging, well, I'm in Spain, I'm in India, I'm in England. And people all over the globe watching movies together. That's what I want them to be. That's what I want my channel to be. A nice escape. There's enough drama in the real world that let's just talk about movies. Let's talk about them as movies. Not everything needs do we butt heads over things. Of course, there's movies that have important messages and the conversations to be had that come. Of course, but also we should be able to watch movies and have fun with it. So thank you guys so much for coming out. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here in this room to do meet and greet stuff. Oh, actually, real quick, Jennifer, you can come up here so we can grab a selfie with the room real quick.